My name is Daniel Carter, and this happened to me in the fall of 2018. At that time, I had just moved to the state of Maine for work. I was a freelance writer, which meant I could work from almost anywhere as long as I had my laptop and an internet connection. For months, I had been struggling with stress and writer's block, and my editor suggested something unusual. "Why don't you get away from the city for a while?" he said. "Somewhere quiet." That's when I started looking for places to rent. Most listings were normal cabins in forests or near lakes, but one listing caught my attention immediately. It was a small wooden cottage on a tiny island off the coast of Maine. The price was unbelievably cheap. At first, I thought it had to be a scam. The listing said the island was privately owned and had only one small cottage on it. No neighbors, no other buildings, just the cottage, and dense bushes covering most of the island. It sounded peaceful, almost too peaceful. Still, curiosity got the better of me. I contacted the owner. His name was Arthur Blake, an older man who lived in a nearby coastal town. When I asked him why the rent was so cheap, he paused for a moment before answering. "Well," he said slowly, "most people don't stay there very long." That should have been a warning, but I ignored it. 2 days later, I drove to the harbor where Arthur was waiting beside a small fishing boat. The sky was gray that afternoon, and the ocean looked darker than usual. Arthur didn't talk much during the ride. The boat cut through the cold Atlantic water while seagulls screamed above us. After about 20 minutes, I finally saw the island. It was smaller than I expected. From a distance, it looked like nothing more than a dark green mound in the middle of the ocean. The entire island was covered in thick bushes and twisted trees. There were no beaches, just jagged rocks along the edges. In the center of the island stood a lonely wooden cottage. Even from far away, something about it made me uneasy. Arthur steered the boat toward a small wooden dock. "This is it," he said. When we stepped onto the island, the first thing I noticed was how quiet it was. No birds, no insects, nothing. Just the sound of the wind moving through the bushes behind the cottage. Arthur carried my bags to the cottage and showed me around. The place was simple. One bedroom, a small living room, a kitchen, and a bathroom. The windows faced the ocean on all sides. Before leaving, Arthur stopped at the door and looked at me with a strange expression. "Listen," he said quietly. "If you hear something outside at night, don't go into the bushes." I frowned. "What do you mean?" But he just shook his head. Just a piece of advice. Then he left. I stood there on the porch watching the boat disappear into the gray horizon. And that's when it hit me. I was completely alone, on a tiny island surrounded by miles of dark ocean. And as the wind moved through the bushes behind the cottage, I could have sworn I heard something inside them. Something moving, slowly.